Hey guys, this is Ricky from Autoworks, and today we're going to show you guys how to install coilovers on a 2008 and up Subaru WRX and STI. In today's demonstration, we are using a 2008 STI hatchback, but the coilover install should be the same for the 2015 and up WRX and STIs as well, because they both use the same type of suspension, McPherson in the front and multi-link suspension in the rear. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started.
First thing you want to do is lift the vehicle in the air and take off the front wheels to get access to the front struts inside the fender well. Now that we have access to the struts, next we remove the two 19mm bolts from the bottom of the strut housing and the two 12mm bolts holding down the brake line and the ABS harness. When removing the two strut bolts, remember that the top bolt is a camber adjusting bolt with a lobe shape and the bottom is a regular bolt. With all the bolts removed from the bottom, we can now remove the three 12mm nuts holding the strut assembly to the strut tower. Be careful not to drop the strut while removing these nuts. Now that we have all the bolts removed, we can now remove the strut from the fender well and install our new coilovers. When aligning the top hat, be sure the camber adjustment mechanism slides left and right when facing the front of the vehicle. Once aligned, go ahead and tighten down the three 12mm nuts holding the strut assembly to spec. Next, let's reinstall the two strut housing bolts, making sure the lobe-shaped camber bolt is on top with the washer and the regular strut bolt is at the bottom. If your coilovers came with a separate harness bracket, install it now to the top of the strut bolt and torque everything down to spec. Now we can tighten down the two 12mm bolts, holding down the brake line and the ABS harness. And now for the final step for this corner, put the wheel back on and torque the wheel down to 80 foot-pounds. Repeat the same process for the other side. Now moving on to the rear of the vehicle, remove the rear wheels from the car. Located in the trunk behind the plastic cover, remove the 14mm top hat nuts holding the shock assembly to the vehicle. Next, remove the 14mm end link bolt as well as the 17mm bolt holding down the spring and shock assembly to the lower control arm. Now, if you're on stock suspension, you will also need to remove the 17mm lower control arm bolt and swing the lower control arm down to get the spring and shock assembly out. Since I'm already on aftermarket suspension, I'm able to remove the spring and shock assembly without having to swing the control arm down. Now you can install your new coilover by lining up the top hat and tightening the two 14mm nuts holding down the coilover to the body of the vehicle. Next, insert the 17mm strut bolt and the 14mm end link bolt and torque down the specs. Also torque down the rest of the 17mm bolts on the lower control arm if you removed it. And for the final step, install the rear wheel and torque down to 80 foot-pounds. Repeat the same process for the other side. And just like that, hopefully you have just installed your new coilovers without any issues. One last thing to remember is that anytime you lower your vehicle, you throw your alignment settings out of spec and the car may actually handle worse than it originally did before the install. Be sure to get an alignment done to get all the settings adjusted back to spec. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more content.